Franklin Pierce was the 14th President of the United States of America. He was born November 23, 1804, into a very strict Episcopalian family. He was born in New Hampshire, Hillsborough. There he attended the Bowdoin College and graduated in 1824. 10 years after he graduated college, he married Jane Means Appleton. They had 3 children together: Franklin, Frank Robert, and Benjamin Pierce. Franklin Pierce was a lawyer. When he ran for his presidency, he stood on the Democratic side. James Buchanan, the 15th President of the United States, Lewis Cass, an American military officer and politician, and William Marcy, a U.S. Senator and the 11th Governor of New York, and Stephen A. Douglas, a politician from Illinois, were the other Democratic presidential. Pierce won the election, but 2 months before his inauguration, his last surviving child, Benjamin, died during a train wreck. This was witnessed by both the parents, and sadly, Jane Appleton never fully recovered. She remained a recluse inside the White House until the day she died. Franklin Pierce's inauguration of 1853. Pierce chose to affirm his oath to office rather than swear it, becoming the first president to do so. He placed his hand on a law book rather than a Bible. Franklin Pierce was the first president in history to recite his entire inaugurational address from memory. Tragedy struck 2 months into Franklin Pierce's presidency when his vice president, William R. King, died of tuberculosis. After Vice President William R. King's death, there was no vice president re-elected for the position.
Early in 1854, Pierce received a visit from members of his own party, including Illinois Senator Stephen A. Douglas. Douglas informed Pierce he was sponsoring a bill called the Kansas-Nebraska Act.
The Kansas-Nebraska Act is one of the key moments in all of American political history.
The act was designed to repeal the Missouri Compromise of 1820, which banned slavery in states above the southern border of Missouri. The intent was to let the new territories of Kansas and Nebraska, both north of the boundary, decide for themselves if they wanted slavery or not. Douglas promised to make Pierce's presidency a living nightmare if Pierce didn't support the scheme.
The president should have said, no, you're opening a can of worms, a hornet's nest. But no, Pierce is weak, Pierce can be bullied, and Douglas forces him basically to say, okay, the administration will support this.
And so Pierce basically caved into them. And as a consequence, most of the Northern Democrats in the Senate and exactly half of the Northern Democrats in the House supported the bill, and that was just enough to get it through Congress.
Anti-slavery groups in the North just went berserk over this bill. They went ballistic.
Among the outraged was a little-known politician from Illinois, Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln was so angered by the blatant pro-slavery act that he helped create a radical new political party to oppose the expansion of slavery, the Republican Party.
Previously, he talked about slavery now and then, but basically he'd just been a fairly ordinary Whig politician. The Kansas-Nebraska Act brings Lincoln back into politics, and it brings him into politics as a spokesman against the expansion of slavery. It galvanizes Lincoln.
Meanwhile, in the Kansas Territory, anti- and pro-slavery settlers were literally fighting it out. On May 21st, 1856, pro-slavery forces burned the abolitionist stronghold of Lawrence, Kansas, down to the ground.
The whole political situation begins to disintegrate, and Pierce is completely incapable of putting it back together again.
Pierce failed to see his role in the deterioration of the Union. He genuinely thought he had a shot at a second term, but even his own party rejected him.
After Franklin Pierce's presidency, he moved back to Concord, New Hampshire, with his wife, James Mean Appleton. There, he started drinking. And after his wife, Jane Mean Appleton's death in December 2nd, 1863, he fell even more into depression and alcoholism. He died October 8, 1869, in Concord, New Hampshire, of cirrhosis. Franklin Pierce is buried in Concord, New Hampshire. Franklin Pierce's legacy definitely has left a stamp in the United States of America today.